when your favorite band lived inside your TV and traveled to their shows in a colorful psychedelic school bus. From 1970 to 1974 on ABC, the Partridge Family turned primetime television into a moving pop concert. A widowed mother with a strong Broadway singing voice, 5 kids with harmonies that sounded almost too perfect, and one bright, multicolored bus that looked like it had lost a battle with a paint factory. The show starred Shirley Jones, David Cassidy, Susan Day, Danny Bonaduce, and a group of kids who truly looked like they were playing their own musical instruments. They were not, but we will talk about that later. The show mixed the warm, sweet feeling of a sitcom with cheerful bubblegum pop music that was so catchy that at one point they were selling more singles than the Beatles on the music charts. But behind the tambourines and matching vests, there were professional session musicians, real family problems, a fan mailroom that worked on a huge, almost government-level scale, and a teenage idol who was not completely sure he wanted to be famous. Today, we are going to count down 15 strange facts about the Partridge Family, the kind of facts that'll make you watch the painted bus a little differently. But before we begin, press the like button and subscribe so you do not miss the next deep dive. And stay until number 15 because it completely changes the way you see the grumpiest manager in television history. Now come on, get happy and let's get into it.
Number 1. The real-life Partridges who were not. The Partridge Family was not created completely from nothing. The idea was strongly inspired by a very real band, the Cowsills. Real brothers and sisters, real hit songs, The Rain, The Park, and Other Things, big hair, and the shiny bubblegum pop style of the late 1960s. Producers at Screen Gems saw them and thought, hey, that could be a great idea. And according to members of the Cowsills, early talks included the idea of bringing the real band into the television show. So what went wrong? Mom was the issue. The studio wanted famous star power. They had their eyes on Shirley Jones, an Oscar-winning actress, a Broadway legend, and a truly strong singer. According to the band, the Cowsill kids were willing to do it, but only if their real mother, Barbara Cowsill, could also appear on screen. And the studio said,
nope. Cowsills, well, they said no deal. And just like that, Hollywood did what Hollywood usually does best. They kept the main idea and replaced the real family. They hired Shirley Jones. They chose actors to play the kids, found a bus, painted it, and created a made-up version of the story that was inspired by a real band. Meanwhile, the real Cowsills watched a TV family that was loosely based on them become a huge merchandising success. One single conversation changed pop culture history somewhere in Newport, Rhode Island, and that probably still hurts just a little.
Number 2, the Milli Vanilli of 1970. Velvet suits, tambourines shaking in perfect rhythm, the Partridge Kids singing together in harmony like they had just stepped out of pop music heaven? Yes, about that. Other than Shirley Jones, true Broadway royalty, and David Cassidy, who basically pushed producers hard to let him sing, the rest of the cast did not play instruments on those records and added little to no singing in the recording studio. The songs, well, they were recorded by top-level session musicians in Los Angeles. Many of them were connected to the famous Wrecking Crew, the same musicians who worked on Pet Sounds and a huge number of hit songs in the 1960s. That bass line on I Think I Love You, yes, that is not coming from a funny red-haired kid. That was powerful, professional talent that regularly made chart-topping hits. And those big, smooth harmonies floating behind the chorus? The Ron Hicklin singers. Basically the secret weapon for half of television music in the 1970s. So yes, the Milli Vanilli of the early 70s, the music itself was actually amazing. I Think I Love You reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 that November, placing a fictional TV family at the very top of the same chart that the Beatles had once controlled. And nobody questioned it for even a moment. 50 years later, we are still humming the song. That is the kind of clever trick that you simply have to respect.
Number 3. The accidental icon. When the Partridge Family started production at Screen Gems, singing was not part of the original plan for David Cassidy. Just show up, look right for the role, move your lips to the words, and collect the paycheck. Every song was already handled by professional studio musicians. But Cassidy had grown up around music. He admired Jimi Hendrix. He listened to B.B. King. And when producers brought him into the recording booth during the early sessions, something he later described as almost just a routine step, he walked out with something no one expected, a real singing voice. Strong tone, rough edge, and a natural pop style that you simply cannot fake with session singers. the producers changed direction quickly. Cassidy became the true lead singer on the records. Albums started selling very fast. By 1972, he was everywhere. His face was on lunchboxes, pillowcases, and posters, and he performed in sold-out arenas all around the world. At the height of his fame, some estimates said he was selling more records than every other solo artist in America.
Yesterday, I have forgotten smile.
The fictional kid from a fictional band had become one of the most valuable entertainers in the world. But that level of fame comes with a price. And on May 26, 1974, that price had to be paid. White City Stadium in London, an estimated 30,000 to 35,000 fans filled the venue. When Cassidy stepped onto the stage, the crowd pushed forward. It quickly turned into chaos. Hundreds of people were treated for injuries, and more than 100 were taken to the hospital. A 14-year-old fan, Bernadette Whelan, later died from injuries she suffered in the crowd crush. It shocked the United Kingdom, and it deeply affected Cassidy. He later said that he felt like a piece of merchandise. That was not drama, that was pure exhaustion. He wanted people to take him seriously as a musician, but instead his face was printed on products, while teenagers were getting hurt in the stadium aisles. After the concert ended, Cassidy worked on solo albums with deeper music, took acting roles that showed more skill, and performed in Las Vegas shows that kept him busy, but he never captured that same explosive level of fame again. The teen idol image stayed with him like strong tape. No matter what he tried to do, the world kept pulling him back to Keith Partridge and that painted bus.
Number 4. The Secret Family Tree. Now, here is something that most fans never noticed. Shirley Jones, the TV mother on the show, was David Cassidy's real-life stepmother. In real life, she was married to his father, a Tony Award-winning Broadway performer, Jack Cassidy. Producers have said that David earned the role through auditions and screen tests. Even so, the fact that his real-life stepmother was already part of the cast probably did not hurt his chances. But once filming began, the situation became strange very quickly. Think about it. You are 19 years old when the show first airs, and you are turning into one of the biggest teen idols in the world. Girls are shouting your name in every city, and your stepmother is standing right there on set playing your mother, watching everything happen under bright studio lights. In his autobiography and later interviews, Cassidy admitted that fame, mixed with complicated family relationships, created real tension behind the scenes, even though it never showed up on the screen. Even with the awkward situation, the two stayed professional. Shirley brought strong Broadway-level discipline to every scene, and David matched her effort. Whatever felt strange about the situation stayed behind the camera.
Number 5. The tragic fate of the painted bus. If the Partridge Family had a mascot, it was not Danny's smart jokes or even Keith's famous hair. It was that bus. The bright, multicolored Chevrolet school bus, often described as being inspired by Mondrian-style art, became one of the most recognizable vehicles on television in the 1970s. It was not originally built to be a special display piece. It was a used school bus bought from the Orange County School District for about $500, then repainted and redesigned for the series, turning it into a moving pop culture advertisement with stronger branding than most real rock bands.
My stomach.
Why?
I keep seeing this headline in Variety. Partridges laying eggs.
For 4 seasons, it carried the "come on, get happy" dream. Then, the show was canceled, and the bus simply disappeared. After the series ended in 1974, the bus was reportedly painted white again and reused in another TV production called Apple's Way, filmed on the same studio lot. After that, the trail becomes unclear. There were reported sightings of a bus behind a taco shop near USC in the early 1980s, although fans and Chevrolet lovers have argued for years about whether that was the real bus or just a copy with a similar paint design. By 1987, one bus that matched the description was reportedly removed from that location and taken to a scrapyard. But was it the real bus? Well, no one has been able to prove it. Several copies were built over the years, for Bell telephone promotions, for a Nick at Night advertising campaign, and for a 1999 television movie, and people have been confusing those copies with the original ever since. Even Shirley Jones has said that she's not sure where the real bus finally ended up. One of the most famous vehicles in television history, and no one can say for sure what happened to it. No confirmed restoration, no museum display, no clear record of it being scrapped, just many years of arguments, sightings of copies, and a mystery that Partridge fans are still debating about online. Hollywood creates, and Hollywood sometimes loses track of its own props.
Number 6. The 30,000-letter avalanche. Before going viral meant a trending hashtag, it meant overwhelming the U.S. Postal Service. At the height of Partridge mania in the early 1970s, news reports estimated that David Cassidy was receiving anywhere from 20,000 to 30,000 fan letters each week, sometimes even more. His official fan club grew to hundreds of thousands of members worldwide, and the amount of mail became so huge that studio staff were hired to sort and respond to it. Bins were filled with perfumed envelopes, marriage proposals, hand-drawn portraits, and yes, even the occasional lock of hair. If you lived anywhere from Des Moines to Dusseldorf, there was a good chance someone on your street sent something to him. Like most big teen idols of that time, Cassidy could only read a tiny fraction of what arrived. At the same time, teen magazines published advice columns and Q&A sections under his name, often written or heavily edited by staff, which most fans did not know. Imagine putting your 14-year-old heart into pink stationery, and somewhere in Hollywood, a studio worker you will never meet is the only person who ever opens it. Today, celebrities measure popularity in likes and comments. In 1971, Cassidy measured it in truckloads of mail, and most of those truckloads never got read.
Number 7. The revolving door of Partridge Kids. Be honest, did you notice when Chris Partridge suddenly looked different? In Season 1, the youngest brother, the kid on the drums, was played by Jeremy Gelbwicks. Shy personality, classic bowl-cut hairstyle, very much like a 1970s elementary school photo. Then Season 2 comes along, and suddenly Chris looks different. There was no big exit scene, no he's at summer camp, just a new actor. Enter Brian Forster, sliding onto the drum stool like he had always been there. It was before the internet, so no one was sending angry letters to the network. We just shrugged and said, Chris grew. Behind the scenes, reports say that Gelbwicks' family moved during the break between seasons, and other behind-the-scenes reasons may have played a role. Either way, in 1970s network TV, keeping everything the same from episode to episode was more of a suggestion than a rule. If the vest fit, you were hired. But the revolving door did not stop at the drums. By Season 4, ratings were dropping, so producers used a classic sitcom trick: add a cute kid. Enter Ricky Siegel. 4 years old, mop-top hair, and suddenly everywhere. He played Ricky Stevens, the neighbor kid who joined the Partridge world like he had always been part of it. No long setup, no emotional story, just boom, tiny scene stealer deployed.
You know it's very wrong to want to harm another person, 'cause someone else's happiness, it's never your misfortune.
Fans noticed the change, and the show started feeling younger. The whole thing seemed less like natural storytelling and more like a network executive pointing at the ratings charts and yelling, "Quick, bring in something with dimples." The show was canceled that same season. When your fictional band starts adding toddlers, the harmony is already off.
Number 8. The Oscar winner who had to dial it down. Before she became America's grooviest TV mom, Shirley Jones had already won an Oscar for Elmer Gantry and starred in big movie musicals like Oklahoma, Carousel, and The Music Man. She is a classically trained soprano discovered by Rodgers and Hammerstein, the kind of singer whose voice can fill an entire theater without a microphone. Meant to record for the Partridge Family meant adjusting that powerful Broadway voice to a lighter, radio-friendly sound built around David Cassidy, the new lead singer. Next to the breezy, sunny pop style of the songs, her full-strength voice sounded like Carnegie Hall had accidentally walked into a garage rehearsal. So she made a choice. She toned it down.
You're my best girl, and nothing you do is wrong. I'm proud you belong to me.
In interviews, Jones has said that she adjusted how she sang, softening her vibrato, smoothing out the phrasing, and leaning into a gentler pop style. Instead of singing loudly to the back of a theater, she blended with the music. An Oscar winner choosing to hold back so the family band sounded real, and most of us never even noticed. That's the skill. She was controlling her powerful voice in real time, giving the songs warmth and credibility without taking over. Hey, if you're still watching, chances are you either owned the lunchbox, had the poster, or tried to convince your parents that you needed a tambourine. Drop it in the comments and hit the like button too. It helps the channel more than you think. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. We've got plenty more stories like this. All right, let's get back on the bus. Number 9. The Laurie and Keith Paradox. On screen, Laurie and Keith Partridge were the perfect TV siblings. Eye rolls, inside jokes, harmonies tighter than their bell-bottom pants. But off-screen, it was more complicated. Susan Dey was 16 when she was cast and 17 when the show premiered. According to David Cassidy's 1994 memoir, Come On, Get Happy, she developed a teenage crush on him during the early seasons. In the book, Cassidy wrote that he did not feel the same way and felt awkward about the situation, especially as his teen idol fame grew. In later interviews, he admitted that talking about it publicly may have caused tension between them. Think about it. You're a teenager working 12-hour days on a soundstage, your crush is playing your brother, and the whole world is in love with him too. After the show ended in 1974, Dey mostly stepped away from Partridge Family nostalgia. She skipped most reunion specials and retrospectives, though she did appear occasionally for anniversary interviews or media events, but her focus was clearly on the future. She went on to build a strong acting career, most notably winning a Golden Globe for her work on LA Law, and has stayed very private about her personal life. This doesn't change the show, but knowing that at least part of that on-screen dynamic came from real teenage feelings adds a layer. It's not scandal or drama, just adolescence playing out under studio lights for all of America to see. Number 10. The Day the Bus Broke the Stratosphere. By 1974, the Partridge Family was winding down, and the network faced the classic TV question: how do we keep selling this show after the kids outgrow their hairstyles? The answer: send them to space. Not just as a joke, literally. Enter Partridge Family 2200 AD, produced by Hanna-Barbera. Because if anyone could launch a folk pop family into the future, it was the studio that gave us talking dogs and cavemen with modern appliances. Suddenly, San Pueblo was gone, and the 23rd century was here. Flying vehicles, futuristic gadgets, and a space-age version of the famous bus, all with the same bell-bottom energy.
Hooray! It's a tidal wave!
What's going on? Somebody do something!
Turn it off!
Uh-oh. Danny's invented another gadget.
This version aired 16 episodes, which in 1970s cartoon math is basically a polite shrug, but it captured the era perfectly. The 1970s loved taking wholesome sitcom shows and strapping rockets to them. If you had a hit, the next logical step was apparently a lunar colony.
Well, there goes Plan A. What do we do now? Bow wow rough.
David Cassidy chose not to take part at all and was replaced by a sound-alike. Susan Dey voiced Laurie for 2 episodes before leaving, and she was replaced by former Mouseketeer Sherry Alberoni. Shirley Jones did not return either, with her character voiced by actress Joan Gerber. But Danny Bonaduce stayed in, Susan Crowe stayed in, and Brian Forster stayed in. Number 11. The Grammy Anomaly. Here's one that still makes music purists wince. In 1971, the Partridge Family, a band that didn't really exist, was nominated for a Grammy. Not some small novelty award, but Best New Artist, the same award that launches real careers and recognizes true talent. And the Recording Academy looked at a fictional TV family backed by session musicians and said, yes, they qualify. They ended up losing to the Carpenters, Karen and Richard, who could actually, play and sing. But the fact that it even got that far says everything about how blurred the line was between the show and the music. The records were selling, the singles were hitting the charts, and apparently nobody at the Recording Academy had a rule that said your lead guitarist had to be a real person. It's the kind of nomination that raises a question nobody at the Grammys wanted to answer. If the music is real, if the sales are real and the fans are real, does it matter that the band isn't? The Carpenters took home the trophy, but somewhere in a parallel universe, a painted school bus has a Grammy sitting on the dashboard. Number 12. The Secret Sitcom Universe. The Partridge House looked like the safest, sunniest suburb on Earth. White fence, garage band rehearsals, that rainbow bus parked out front, but it wasn't a real home.
It was a facade on the Columbia Ranch in Burbank, later known as the Warner Brothers Ranch, specifically on a stretch of residential street nicknamed Blondie Street. That small patch of fake suburbia hosted some of the most famous sitcom homes in TV history. The exterior used for Bewitched, 1164 Morning Glory Circle, stood on that same street. So did the house scene in I Dream of Jeannie. Not side by side as branded sets, of course. These were facades that were redressed and redesigned from show to show, but built on the same stretch of backlot asphalt. So, at different times, the same sidewalk hosted witches, genies, and a groovy family band with a painted bus. Different shows, different decades, same plywood. Number 13, the theme song that hijacked your brain.
Come on, get happy.
If I say Partridge Family, you're already humming it.
We'll make you happy.
Come on, get happy. Yeah, don't fight it. That melody has been stuck in your head since childhood, and it isn't going anywhere. But here's the thing, what you're singing isn't even the original. When the show first aired in September 1970, the Partridge bus wasn't rolling to Come On Get Happy. It was When We're Singing. Same bouncy groove, same sunny pop energy, just different lyrics. More of a literal, here's who we are jam, without any of the sing-along magic that we all grew up shouting at the TV.
Come on now and meet everybody and hear us singing.
Starting in Season 2, the show's songwriters, Wes Farrell and Danny Jansen, revised the lyrics, and Come On Get Happy was born. The melody stayed the same, but the words changed, and the new version grabbed kids by the ears and never let go.
We get a happy feeling when we're singing a song.
It became the version stuck in America's collective memory so completely that even diehard fans have to search for Season 1 episodes to hear the original. It's like hearing a cover of your own childhood performed by strangers. The Partridge Family didn't get rid of its theme, they just rewrote it and ended up with one of the most recognizable earworms in television history.
We'll make you happy.
Number 14, the guest list that predicted Hollywood. Before the Oscars, before blockbuster posters, before the action figures, some of the biggest stars of the 70s and 80s got their first experience by standing awkwardly in the Partridge living room, trying not to be upstaged by Danny Bonaduce. Mark Hamill appeared in a 1971 episode about 6 years before Star Wars, playing a lovesick high schooler crushing on Lori. Shaggy hair, earnest smile, total farm boy charm, just not space-related yet. How about Jodie Foster? About 10 years old, she guest-starred as a kid smitten with Danny. Of course, she was already stealing every scene she was in.
I've got all of your records. I think you're wonderful.
She was already performing on a completely different level from everyone around her. Then there's Richard Pryor, the future king of boundary-pushing stand-up, showing up as a squeaky clean club owner on a family sitcom. Watching him play it straight in primetime suburbia is the kind of casting clash only the 70s could produce. Farrah Fawcett appeared too, 2 years before she became a household name. Jackie Cooper, Cheryl Ladd. The guest list reads like a who's who of future stars just rotating through a family band set. Rewatching those episodes now is like watching Hollywood's farm system in action. That random kid selling a guitar to Keith? Well, the odds are they ended up with a star on the Walk of Fame. And number 15, the grumpy manager who became a real dad. On screen, Reuben Kincaid and Danny Partridge spent 4 seasons going at it like it was an Olympic sport. Sarcasm, eye rolls, the kind of bickering that made you wonder how they survived a single road trip in that bus. But off-screen, it was a completely different story. Danny Bonaduce has been open about his childhood. In interviews in his memoir, he described a turbulent home where stability was hard to find. But on the set, something unexpected happened. The actor who played his nemesis became, by Bonaduce's own account, the closest thing he had to a real father figure. According to Bonaduce, Dave Madden didn't just show up for tapings and leave. He watched out for him, offered guidance, and during difficult times in Bonaduce's youth, Madden opened his own home to him. Not for publicity, not as an industry mentorship, but simply as a grown man seeing a kid who needed someone steady and deciding to be that person. What makes it even more remarkable is that Madden was famously private. He wasn't chasing interviews or attention. He was a working character actor who showed up, nailed his scenes, and quietly made sure a 10-year-old co-star had somewhere safe to land. No cameras, no headlines, just consistency, which for a kid in Bonaduce's situation might have been the most valuable thing anyone on that set could offer.
Their bond lasted decades. Long after the Partridge bus stopped rolling and both had moved on to very different chapters, Bonaduce remained publicly grateful. He spoke movingly about their relationship after Madden's death in 2014, calling it one of the most important connections of his life. For anyone who grew up watching those two trade insults every week, knowing what was really happening behind the laugh track changes the rewatch entirely. So that's the Partridge Family. If you have a favorite Partridge memory, a song, an episode, drop it in the comments. They really do read them. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with whoever you used to watch reruns with. They probably need this trip back to the 70s as much as you did. Until next time.